She was removed from the graduation stage due to her attire: a simple white cotton dress, worn ballet flats, and a casually tied ponytail, an appearance that drew attention from those in attendance. "You are not on the speakers list. Please step down," stated the event organizer, the silence that followed as brittle as glass. No explanation was given. There was no public questioning of why Elise Carter, St. Morel's top student, was excluded from the final moment of recognition. Instead, quiet mockery rippled through the audience, unaware that daughters of janitors sometimes aspired to share a stage with those from established families. She descended, 1 foot at a time, moving past gazes filled with judgment. However, just then, the doors swung open, and her fiancé, heir to a billion-dollar empire, entered. Royal Lancaster Hall resembled a cathedral of privilege, its crystal chandeliers projecting prisms of light that shimmered across gilded walls and velvet-draped tables. The air was heavy with the fragrance of orchids and affluence, each guest a dazzling symbol of power. St. Morel Academy's graduation ceremony was far more than just an event. A coronation unfolded for the heirs of Forbes-listed dynasties. Diamond earrings shimmered on every ear, bespoke suits whispered with each movement, and the sound of champagne flutes resonated as a symbol of exclusivity. The students, adorned in silk-lined caps and gowns, were seated in rows of polished mahogany chairs, their futures seemingly predetermined and promising. A live-stream screen displayed the ceremony for those unable to purchase the $5,000 guest tickets, and among the viewers stood Maria Carter, Elise's mother, her hospital janitor scrubs concealed by a borrowed coat, her gaze fixed on her daughter's image. Elise entered, her white cotton dress a subtle rejection of the lavish surroundings. At 22, she was captivating, not with the refined appearance of her contemporaries, but with the natural beauty of someone who had rightfully earned her place. A low ponytail held back her dark hair, highlighting cheekbones and hazel eyes that conveyed warmth and determination. The gentle sound of her faded ballet flats accompanied her across the marble floor, her steps sure despite the challenge of 1,000 stairs. She was the scholarship student, raised by a single mother who cleaned hospital floors to ensure they could pay their rent. Exceptionally intelligent and persistent, she had earned a place among the best at St. Morel's, only to face criticism for the circumstance of her background. The lack of her mother in the hall felt like a hidden pain, as she was aware Maria observed from the chilly street beyond. When Elise settled into her place, the hall's prominent figures initiated a digital attack. Mobile phones illuminated, students rapidly typing, their social media updates a public shaming. Charity case crashes, one wrote, highlighting Elise's worn shoes. Mother posted, St. Morel's biggest mistake, allowing a cleaner's child to attend. The live stream discussion became filled with harsh comments. She's a fraud, and kick her out, peered frequently. Sophia Lyle, a girl in a sapphire gown, stood, her voice audible to Maria outside. Reports indicated her dress was trending as the worst fashion choice of the year. The hall erupted in laughter, a cruel sound, with phones raised as if to attack Elise. She remained still, her hazel eyes focused ahead, though her fingers lightly touched her plaque, revealing a slight tremor that contradicted her composure. Maria's expression on the live stream was one of suffering, each online post feeling like an insult to her honor. The audience's anger intensified, fueled by their outrage at the mob's actions, attention poised to explode. Ethan Caldwell, a large senior and inheritor of a tech empire, rose from his seat, his substantial build looming over Elise as she remained seated. "You're occupying space you have no right to," he stated, his voice resonating throughout the diamond section. He approached, the sound of his loafers striking the marble floor, his Rolex catching the light as he gestured towards her. "That dress is disrespectful to this hall. Leave before we force you to." A hush fell over the crowd, an unspoken sense of danger palpable as phones were raised to document the scene. Ethan moved closer, his breath warm with champagne, his fingertip hovering near Elise's face. "Your mom scrubs floors, for people like us. Know your place." A scattering of students offered encouragement, their voices keen and insistent. Elise's hands remained clasped, her hazel eyes locked with his, unwavering despite the visible pulse in her neck. A palpable tension filled the air, her silence a delicate defense against his threat, and the audience's anger swelled, yearning for her to be saved. The hall seemed to sway as Elise took her place in the diamond section, designated for the privileged. Murmurs cut through the atmosphere. "Wait, are they renting out diamond seats by the hour now?" Scoffed a boy in a tailored tuxedo, his cufflinks gleaming. A girl standing close by, her gown adorned with Swarovski crystals, bent forward. It was evident she had entered without permission. The absence of anyone accompanying her was noticeable. Her voice, measured and harsh, resonated, prompting laughter from those seated nearby. Elise's hands remained still in her lap, her expression calm. She had endured more difficult experiences during her 4 years at St. Morel, including classmates ridiculing her thrift store clothing and professors doubting her suitability for leadership. However, today was meant to be different. It was her graduation day. Natalie Harrington, daughter of a global fashion empire, was positioned 3 rows ahead, her blonde hair falling in flawless waves, and her emerald gown a $20,000 creation. She glanced back, her blue eyes assessing Elise from head to toe, and remarked, loud enough for the entire section to hear, "St. Morel really needs to reevaluate its scholarship standards." She continued, "We can't have commoners ruining the visual harmony." Amusement spread through the section as heads turned to observe Elise's simple dress. A young boy close by called out, asking what's next, and suggesting her mom scrub the stage. The hall was filled with murmurs, the taunting palpable and sustained by Elise's quietness. She didn't react. Her hazel eyes remained focused on the stage, though her fingers briefly clenched, revealing a momentary strain beneath her composure. A professor, Dr. Evelyn Tate, stood from the faculty row, her silk shawl shifting as she addressed the hall with a condescending smile. "Miss Carter's attendance here was generous, but misplaced," she stated, her voice conveying insincere sympathy. "St. Morel is intended for individuals destined for leadership, not those who fulfill supporting roles," she indicated, gesturing toward Elise, her diamond ring catching the light. "Your scholastic achievements are noteworthy, but leadership demands heritage, not benevolence." The audience expressed agreement with quiet sounds and applause, their sense of privilege forming a barrier around Elise. "Perhaps a vocational school would be a more appropriate fit for you," Tate observed, her words carefully chosen to inflict pain. Elise held the plaque in her lap, her hands still, though her hazel eyes betrayed a hidden sorrow. Outside, Maria's hands tightened as the live stream broadcast Tate's dismissive remarks, her daughter's aspirations ridiculed by those who should have supported her. The audience's anger swelled, their outrage at this violation of trust by those in power a searing pain. Natalie Harrington moved closer, her emerald gown reflecting the chandelier's glow, her voice sharp and controlled. She observed her, believing she could occupy our position. She stated, her voice clear enough for the live stream to record each word. She stood, indicating Elise's dress with a gesture, her carefully shaped nails catching the light. "That garment is suited for a laundry basket, not St. Morel's stage. And those flats," she continued, "I wouldn't wear them to walk my dog." The hall erupted in laughter, students applauding, their amusement a public humiliation. A student yelled, "Send her back to the hospital to mop floors." Natalie's smile broadened, her gaze fixed on Elise. "Your mother's a cleaner, and you're just her shadow leeching off our prestige," she hissed, her words intended to inflict pain. Elise's plaque trembled in her hands, her knuckles whitening, but her face remained composed, a barrier against the attack. The live stream outside showed Maria's face falling, the crowd's harshness a blow to her heart, and the audience grew increasingly agitated, their anger threatening to erupt. The ceremony commenced, the dean's voice resonating through the hall, commending the prospective leaders of the world. Elise's name was announced for the valedictorian award, her flawless GPA a testament to her exceptional intellect. As she stood, the whispers intensified. "She? Valedictorian?" questioned a girl adorned with pearls. "It must have been achieved through dishonest means." Elise proceeded to the stage, her movements deliberate, her dress reflecting the chandelier's illumination. The applause was subdued, overshadowed by expressions of disapproval. She received her plaque, her smile subtle yet firm, and returned to her seat, the feeling of their assessment feeling more significant than the award she held. A cluster of students close to Elise's seat rose, spearheaded by Julian Pierce, a banking heir whose smirk matched the precision of his suit. "Let's make her feel welcomed," he announced, throwing a discarded napkin toward her. "Pick it up, cleaner's kid," others echoed, adding straws and programs, creating a mess around her. "This is your level, Elise," Julian sneered, his voice audible on the live stream. Laughter erupted from the audience, with some yelling, "Sweep the stage next." The scattered debris created a mortifying backdrop around Elise's chair. She remained composed, her cotton dress a symbol of resistance, though her fingers tightened around her plaque, her knuckles bone white. Maria's expression on the live stream conveyed intense distress, each object thrown a painful blow to her daughter's sense of worth. The crowd's anger escalated, their hearts racing, yearning for the mistreatment to stop, for Elise to transcend the crowd's harshness. Claire Voss, a media heiress, her diamond choker catching the light, rose to her feet, her voice cutting and dramatic. "This is mortifying for everyone," she announced, speaking to the hall with regal authority. "Does Elise believe she can be valedictorian in that second-hand dress?" She indicated Elise, her bracelet chiming, a cruel smile playing on her lips. "You're someone who received charity and got fortunate. You are not welcome on this stage." The audience exploded in uproar, students yelling, "Go back to the slums. And she's ruining the aesthetic." Claire lifted a hand, quieting them, her gaze fixed intensely on Elise. "Your mother is insignificant, and you are even less," she stated, her words deliberate and sharp. "Depart before you escalate the situation." Mobile phones illuminated the scene, capturing Elise's composure, her cotton dress becoming a focal point of their derision. Maria gripped her phone, the live stream showing her daughter's distress. While the audience's frustration grew, their sympathy focused on Elise's honor. When the student speeches were to be presented, Elise's name was scheduled to begin. She had dedicated weeks to writing her speech, a recognition of strength, and a tribute to her mother's sacrifices. As she stood, her heart calm, she moved towards the stage, still holding the plaque. A coordinator, a wiry woman wearing a black blazer, blocked her way, holding a clipboard as if it were a shield. "I'm sorry, you're not on the official list of speakers. Please step down," she stated, her voice cold and amplified by the microphone attached to her lapel. The hall fell silent, all eyes fixed on Elise. The coordinator's lips moved slightly, seemingly pleased by the situation. Elise hesitated, her breath momentarily suspended, but her expression remained calm. Ms. Langley, the coordinator, approached Elise, who stood motionless on the stage, her clipboard held high. "Did you hear me, Miss Carter?" she inquired, her voice laced with disapproval and amplified through the microphone. "You will not be speaking today. You are not part of this group." She then faced the audience, offering a strained smile, seemingly seeking their agreement. "We uphold certain standards at St. Morel, and this," she indicated Elise's dress, "does not meet them." The hall erupted in laughter, a sound like a tidal wave, with students clapping as if at a show. "Perhaps you could assist your mother with the cleanup," Langley remarked, her words pointed. Elise's plaque vibrated in her hands, her hazel eyes flashing with pain, but she remained silent. The live stream displayed Maria's face, tears flowing, the crowd's harshness a public dismantling of her daughter's aspirations. The viewers' anger intensified, their hearts racing, hoping Elise would withstand this final setback. A murmur arose, spreading quickly. "She's poor," a boy in the front row whispered, his voice audible to those watching the live stream. "Sad, but appropriate," a girl added, her diamond bracelet flashing as she chuckled. Natalie shifted, her expression growing more knowing, her hand lightly touching her dress, as if disregarding the unfolding situation. She had planned this, dedicating hours to influencing the event committee, making sure Elise's name was removed from the speakers. This was her last offering to the beneficiary who had the audacity to overshadow her. The hall's laughter amplified, a collective expression of derision, each syllable a missile aimed at Elise's reputation. Outside, Maria held her phone, her complexion ashen, the live stream displaying her daughter's embarrassment for all to see. Elise remained motionless, her fingers subtly shaking around the plaque. The coordinator indicated the staircase, her urgency noticeable. "Please proceed, Ms. Carter," she stated, her voice clear enough for the rear sections to hear. The hall seemed to anticipate Elise's faltering, her tears, her demonstration of inadequacy. However, Elise remained composed. She raised her head, her hazel eyes surveyed the room, and she spoke, her voice firm and unwavering, piercing the surrounding sounds like a sharp instrument. "Thank you for revealing who genuinely belongs in this place." The words were gentle, yet they held a significance that momentarily hushed the murmurs. She then turned, her footsteps silent on the marble, and started to walk away from the stage, her head held high, her dignity a protection against their harshness. As Elise began to leave the stage, Natalie stood up again, her emerald gown a beacon of spite. "This is why we don't associate with the staff," she announced, her voice sharp and clear through the hall. "Elise, you're a stain on St." The impact of Morel's legacy was palpable. A harsh judgment fell. "Your mother's a failure, and you're her echo," accompanied by a gesture towards the live stream screen, acknowledging Maria's viewership. "Go join her outside where you both belong." The audience responded with cheers, their applause seeming to mock Elise's distress, as phones documented her every movement. "No one wants you here," Natalie added, her smile laced with malice. Elise's flats made a soft sound on the marble floor, her plaque clutch held firmly, her hazel eyes reflecting a quiet determination. Maria's sobs resonated through the live stream, the crowd's harshness a public dismantling of her daughter's aspirations. The audience's anger boomed, their spirits saddened, hoping Elise would withstand this ultimate setback. The hall's derision intensified as she walked down the steps. "Back to the slums," cried a boy, his voice lost in the laughter. A girl threw a crumpled program at Elise's feet, saying, "Pick it up, janitors, kid." The paper slid across the floor, brushing Elise's flats, but she didn't stop. Her steps were even, her face serene, but the audience outside, Maria's audience, felt each insult as a physical blow. Maria's hands shook, tears streaked her face, but she didn't avert her gaze from the screen. Elise was her daughter, her pride, and they were dismantling her for entertainment. The hall's laughter was a storm, unrelenting, each remark a wound no one could see but everyone could feel. Natalie stood, her emerald gown shimmering, her voice ringing out. "Let's acknowledge her effort with applause," she stated, clapping deliberately and with a hint of sarcasm. The auditorium responded, the sound echoing emptily, a distorted imitation of reverence. "Perhaps she could present at the community college next," Natalie remarked, her smile sharp. The laughter intensified, phones lighting up as students documented Elise's departure, their captions already being composed. "Scholarship girl falters." Elise's form diminished against the stage's light, her cotton dress a striking difference from the radiant audience. She felt isolated and vulnerable, her opportunity taken by individuals unfamiliar with hardship. The audience's frustration was palpable, their emotions aligned with Elise, hoping she would retaliate. Suddenly, the doors opened and all movement ceased. Security cleared a path, their dark suits creating a sharp contrast to the hall's grandeur. Bright light flooded the space, highlighting a person in a gray suit and black tie. Noah Grayson, only successor to Grayson Industries, entered the room. At 24, he possessed a striking presence. Tall and lean, with dark hair swept back and eyes like carved steel, sharp enough to cut through lies. His presence was electric and commanding, the kind that silenced a room without a word. He had built Grayson Industries' renewable energy arm into a $50 billion empire, and his name was whispered in boardrooms from Tokyo to New York. But to Elise, he was simply Noah, the man who'd fallen for her mind, her heart, and her quiet strength. Noah approached Elise, his movements purposeful, his eyes fixed on her. The hall seemed to pause, the sound of laughter fading. He extended his hand, his touch gentle yet steady, halting her progress. "You're not going anywhere," he stated, his voice quiet but strong, audible throughout the hall. "This is a ceremony of honor, and you're the only one here who genuinely deserves it." Elisa's eyes relaxed, a subtle smile gracing her lips. However, she remained silent, her lack of words more impactful than any declaration. Noah's hand remained on hers, his touch conveying a promise, a protection from the atmosphere of the room. He addressed the event organizers, his steady gaze focusing on the coordinator, who visibly recoiled. "I've been the primary sponsor of St. Moral for 3 years," Noah stated, his voice calm yet resolute, each word carrying significant weight. "This hall's construction, the scholarships you receive, and the continuation of your legacy were all made possible by my family's contributions. However, I am formally withdrawing all future funding unless Elise Carter is invited back onto that stage. Immediately." The event coordinator's clipboard visibly shook, and her complexion drained. The dean, positioned at the front, rose to speak, but Noah's intense look stopped him. The hall felt like a silent chamber, with every attendee motionless, their earlier confidence dissipating under Noah's control. Noah's gaze moved to Natalie, who appeared stiff, her smile vanished, her hands tightly holding her dress. "Natalie Harrington," he stated, his voice sharp and clear, "you sent me 27 messages over the last 4 months, requesting a meeting, a partnership, an opportunity to be at my family's table. Don't believe I was unaware that you altered the speaker list today." A sudden commotion filled the room, eliciting gasps and murmurs as heads turned to Natalie. Her face was flushed, and her eyes moved quickly, desperately seeking an escape route. "You believed you could remove Elisa's name," Noah stated, his voice cold, "but you have only damaged your own reputation." Natalie's chair scraped against the floor as she rose, her voice shaking. "That is not accurate," she insisted, but the attention of the hall was now focused on her, scrutinizing, disapproving. The coordinator spoke quietly to the dean, who responded with a somber nod. Security advanced towards Natalie, their footsteps echoing on the marble. "Ms. Harrington, you're needed at the disciplinary board," one stated, his voice resolute. Natalie's gown snagged on her chair as she lost her balance, her heels striking the floor in a defeated rhythm. The hall remained silent as she was led away, her sphere of power diminishing with each step. Noah's voice resonated, a commanding presence that quelled the hall's whispers. He stated that this wasn't solely Natalie's responsibility, his gaze sharp as he surveyed the audience, identifying those involved. "I possess evidence, emails, texts, and witness testimonies, demonstrating a planned effort to remove Elise from the speaker list." He retrieved a tablet from his suit, its screen illuminating with information. "Claire Voss, you provided a bribe of $50,000 to the event committee to modify the list. Ethan Caldwell, you disseminated rumors regarding Elisa's alleged academic dishonesty to damage her GPA reputation. Ms. Langley, it is known that you enforced the altered list for a promotion." A collective gasp rippled through the room, with heads turning towards the accused, their faces visibly paling. "Grayson Industries is initiating an investigation, and individuals implicated will confront legal repercussions," Noah announced. "Elisa's reputation is paramount." The hall's silence was palpable, those found wanting visibly retracting under his scrutiny, and the audience erupted in applause, their spirits lifting as justice prevailed. Dean Dr. Harold Vance approached the podium, his face pale, his voice wavering under Noah's intense look. "St. Morel has let down its most promising student," he announced, his words transmitted to the live stream. "Elise Carter's exclusion was a planned action, and we acknowledge complete responsibility." He addressed the faculty, specifically mentioning Dr. Tate. "Your comments were inappropriate, and you are suspended while a review takes place." He then spoke to the students, his voice resolute. "An investigation into harassment is underway concerning Julian Pierce and Sophia Lyle. Expulsion is a possible consequence." A collective gasp rippled through the room as the accused visibly recoiled, their confidence diminishing. "Ms. Langley, your involvement in this sabotage concludes your time here," Vance announced. The silence in the hall felt like a judgment, while the live stream audience expressed their approval as events transpired. Elise remained composed, her cotton dress appearing radiant, embodying a sense of grace. A wave of emotion swept through the audience, the hall's appearance a clear sign of her victory. An outside live stream showed her leaving, the audience applauding Elise's validation. Elise returned to the stage, her cotton dress shimmering beneath the chandeliers, still holding her plaque. The hall was quiet now, everyone's heads lowered, the previous ridicule now replaced with regret. She approached the podium, her hazel eyes scanning the room, her voice calm and resolute. This moment wasn't hers alone, she stated, her words gentle but impactful. It was for her mother, who had instructed her that diligence surpasses riches. It was for each student informed they don't belong. The applause commenced, initially subdued, then growing, a wave of esteem. Elise didn't revel in it, she didn't require it. Her silence had conveyed volumes. Her dignity had prevailed. Elise approached the podium, her presence a restrained power that transformed the hall. I stand here not for myself, but for every voice silenced by wealth, she stated, her voice clear, resonating with unwavering strength. My mother taught me that honor isn't bought, it's earned. This scholarship in my name will ensure no student is judged for their background. She raised her plaque, its gold a symbol of her triumph, and faced the audience. St. Morel will change or it will fall, I choose change. The applause erupted, students and guests standing, their earlier scorn replaced by reverence. Noah's eyes shone with pride, his hand brushing hers, a silent vow. On the live stream, Maria's face glowed, the crowd chanting, Elise, Elise. The chandeliers above seemed to blaze, reflecting a legacy forged in truth. The audience's hearts thundered, Elise's words a clarion call, her triumph a light that would burn forever. The ceremony continued, but the atmosphere had changed. Noah took a seat beside Elise, his hand brushing hers, a quiet promise of forever. The dean announced new honors. Maria Carter, Elise's mother, received the Inspiration of the Year award, her name appearing on the live stream screen. Maria's tears shifted to a smile as the crowd outside cheered with pride. Grayson Industries announced a $10 million scholarship in Elise's name for students demonstrating leadership potential from low-income families. The audience responded with applause, but Elise's gaze was fixed on Noah, her heart brimming, her triumph achieved. Standing at the podium, Elise experienced a profound silence that highlighted her victory. This moment isn't solely for my benefit, she stated, her voice firm, carrying a strength that impressed those present. It's for my mother, who worked nights to provide me with an opportunity. It's for every student who has been told their aspirations are too modest. She displayed her plaque, its gold gleaming in the light, and continued, Grayson Industries' leadership in my name will create openings for others similar to me, and I'll ensure St. Morel never forgets the meaning of honor. The applause resonated, students and guests rising, their previous disapproval now replaced by wonder. Noah stood beside her, his hand on hers, his pride a silent strength. Outside, Maria's face was illuminated on the live stream, the crowd chanting Elise's name. The hall's chandeliers appeared to shine more brilliantly, mirroring a fresh legacy, one founded on truth, not wealth. The audience's hearts expanded, Elise's victory a symbol of justice destined to resonate beyond these walls. Following the ceremony's conclusion, Noah and Elise emerged, the spring air cool against their skin. He held a small velvet box, a diamond ring glittering in the sunlight. Turning to Elise Carter, he spoke, his voice gentle, intended only for her. You're my home, my truth. Will you marry me? Her smile was radiant, her nod immediate. The crowd outside erupted, Maria rushing to embrace them, her scrubs a badge of honor. Elise and Noah stood together, their hands entwined, their future a beacon of hope. Natalie faced a brief disciplinary hearing, resulting in expulsion for altering the honors list. Her family's reputation suffered. The live stream gained global popularity, elevating Elise and dominating social media, her narrative embodying resilience. St. Morel's reputation evolved, its influence expanding, its character transformed by a girl in a cotton dress. Elise needed no adornments. She represented hope. Like, share, and subscribe for more narratives such as this, and let us know in the comments, who would you have applauded? The incident left her feeling deeply embarrassed, occurring directly within the nation's premier military training area. Lacking any identifying marks, without a uniform, she appeared to be a cleaning lady who had mistakenly entered, someone remarked. Ava Collins, with her hair in a low ponytail, wearing canvas shoes and a wrinkled white shirt, stood alone, facing a barrage of mocking comments. 30 minutes elapsed before her husband's helicopter, belonging to the highest-ranking general in the military, landed. The strategic camp at St. Hawthorne's functioned as a fortress emphasizing discipline, with barbed wire fences enclosing a large area of muddy training grounds, advanced simulators, and barracks that were meticulously polished. This exclusive 4-week program, designed for the children of generals, senators, and chiefs of staff, served as an intensive training ground for battlefield survival, crisis management, and mental fortitude. Young military trainees, equipped with $2,000 tactical gear, practiced maneuvers while drones, transmitting live video, circled overhead, their personalized rifles displayed engraved family crests. The command center, a substantial structure of glass and concrete, overlooked the training area, displaying live tracking data on its numerous screens. Ava Collins arrived, her worn canvas sneakers sinking into the earth, her white button-up shirt showing slight wrinkles, her simple ponytail gently moving. At 28, having grown up in a tranquil Virginia town, she came with her boyfriend, a young strategic advisor, carrying a well-worn backpack containing a notebook and a water bottle. She displayed no badge, insignia, or indication of her past. The cadets' gazes scrutinized her, their whispers building like a storm. Ava's presence disrupted the camp's rigid hierarchy, and her backpack seemed disrespectful to the elite's carefully constructed environment. A cadet, Ethan Holt, rested against a Humvee, his $3,000 Oakley sunglasses reflecting the light. He muttered, loud enough to draw attention, "Look at that backpack, probably purchased during a post-COVID clearance sale." A senator's daughter, dressed in a $1,500 Under Armour kit, laughed, lightly bumping her friends. She doesn't seem to understand the distinction between a training ground and a gun barrel. Laughter spread through the mess hall, cadets quickly hiding smiles behind gloved hands. Ava remained motionless, her gray eyes unwavering, her backpack resting on her shoulder. She had come to observe, invited by her boyfriend, but the camp's rejection felt like a sharp rebuke to her reserved nature. The audience's frustration grew, their emotions tightening at the dismissive behavior of these officials, their contempt a blow against Ava's gentle demeanor. The taunts intensified, a spiteful performance led by the camp's influential members. Vanessa Pierce, the daughter of a chief of staff, stepped forward, her tactical vest spotless, her brunette braids as precise as her expression. At 24, having grown up in DC's power corridors, she had earned a reputation for defeating those unfamiliar with the environment. She looked at Ava's sneakers and expressed disdain. "She appears to be someone who has never demonstrated a competitive nature," she stated, her voice cutting. The cadets responded with laughter, the sound bouncing off the barracks. Vanessa swung her braid, the fragrance of her cedar-scented lotion filling the air, a scent Ava found overpowering. Ava's fingers tightened on her backpack, her face remaining calm, while the audience's anger escalated, their hearts pounding due to this personal attack, Vanessa's arrogance appearing as a spark in the cold atmosphere. The scorn intensified, becoming a deliberate and organized challenge to Ava's presence. A drill instructor, Margaret Klein, moved forward, her uniform sharply pressed, her face showing years of upholding regulations. At 48, raised in Texas, she took pride in preserving order. "Miss, this camp is restricted to authorized personnel only," she stated, gesturing towards the gate, her voice resolute but not unkind. The cadets responded with cheers, their tactical boots reflecting the light as they waved her away from the grounds. A general's son, dressed in a $2,000 Arc'teryx outfit, exclaimed, "She's likely someone's temporary girlfriend, just here for the food." Laughter erupted, cadets playfully bumping into each other. A squad leader whispered, "That shirt's a disgrace, and she has the nerve to stand here?" It was clear she didn't belong in a war zone. The criticisms felt like a guillotine, each phrase a blow against Ava's silence. The audience's anger intensified, their hearts aching for Ava, enraged by this group's continued harshness. The cadets' disdain became cruel as Ava stood on the training grounds, their taunts a planned attack intended to break her resolve. A group of elite trainees in $5,000 custom tactical kits assembled near the armory, their voices a poisonous blend. One remarked, tossing a training grenade in the direction of Ava's worn sneakers, "She's a blight on this camp's prestige." Another waved a custom rifle, shouting, back to the civilian sidelines, "Sweetheart, her backpack's a joke. Did she find it in a surplus store?" The laughter from the mess hall grew loud, staff members subtly gesturing to each other, their silver pins reflecting the light. A naval officer's son yelled, "She's an insult to every drill run here." The verbal attacks felt like a relentless pressure, each word a challenge against Ava's composed stillness. Nathaniel's helicopter was miles away, but the camp's disapproval felt overwhelming. The audience's anger escalated, their hearts racing, outraged by this planned act of unkindness, their fury burning, ready to challenge the elite's pride. Vanessa Pierce acted again, her cruelty a deliberate action to hurt Ava in front of the elite. During a pause close to the mess hall, she took a water bottle, walked casually over, and poured it into Ava's sneakers, her smile malicious. "Really?" She sneered, and her group burst into laughter. The cadets cheered, their contempt a heavy and oppressive wave, their whispers circulating, "She's nothing." Ava's gray eyes became colder than steel, but her expression remained steady, a defense against the treachery. The training ground extended past the barracks, but the camp's disdain felt like an immense pressure. The audience's anger surged, their hearts aching for Ava, furious at this public humiliation exposed before the ranks. The cadets' disapproval escalated, their words sharp and cruel. A student from a wealthy family, dressed in a $4,000 Patagonia outfit, rested against a supply crate, speaking in a harsh tone. "She's insignificant, likely trying to charm her way to a medal," he remarked, indicating Ava's worn shirt. "Look at those sneakers. Did she find them at a second-hand store?" His group of friends chuckled, their personalized knives glinting. A colonel's daughter exclaimed, "She brings shame to those who recommended her." The laughter felt overwhelming, their arrogance felt like a public condemnation. Ava straightened her ponytail, her gray eyes steady, but the camp's ridicule felt like a heavy burden. The audience's resentment intensified, their hearts racing at this ongoing betrayal, their anger ablaze poised to destroy the camp's integrity. Vanessa Pierce's disapproval became more pronounced, her words a deliberate attempt to hurt Ava before the camp's leadership. Her presence was jarring, a clear affront, she stated, her tactical vest reflecting the light as she indicated Ava's wrinkled shirt. Nathaniel Cross would be disappointed to witness this, a civilian on his property. The squad responded with laughter, their custom knives making a metallic sound as they looked towards Ava's backpack. "She's a visitor, not a tactician," Vanessa remarked, her voice carrying enough to quiet surrounding comments. The cadets expressed their disapproval with cheers, a palpable wave, their comments circulating, "She's an imposter." A quiet intensity blazed in Ava's gray eyes, yet her smile remained, a defense against the pain of betrayal. The command center was visible past the barracks, but the camp's disapproval felt like an unbearable burden. The crowd's anger surged, their feelings sympathetic to Ava, incensed at this heiress's deception revealed to all. The team's involvement intensified the hurt, their actions a new betrayal. A logistics officer, Clara Voss, in a fitted uniform, moved ahead, her voice laced with scorn. "Miss, the civilian viewing area is that way," she said, gesturing toward a distant bench, her smirk reflected by nearby cadets. "We do not allow guests of that nature on the training field," she added, eliciting laughter from the onlookers. At 32 years old, raised in Maryland, Clara took pride in her role as a gatekeeper. The crowd's approval was a powerful force, their arrogance a public display. Ava held her backpack, her gray eyes unwavering, but the camp's disapproval felt like an oppressive burden. The audience's anger intensified, their hearts racing due to this blatant disrespect, their fury directed at St. Hawthorne's reputation. The camp staff's disapproval became obvious, their actions a deliberate public humiliation intended for the cadets' entertainment. A senior coordinator, Richard Hayes, approached Ava close to the training simulator, his uniform immaculate, his voice laced with condescension. "Miss, this field is reserved for qualified trainees only," he stated, ensuring the crowd could hear. Her clothing appeared unsuitable for the program. He indicated her sneakers, his smile echoed by colleagues nearby. "We generally don't permit such casual attire at St. Hawthorne," he stated, prompting amusement from the cadets and instructors. The surrounding group's agreement felt overwhelming, their perceived superiority a pointed display. Ava held her backpack, her gray eyes steady, yet the camp's disapproval felt heavy. The audience's anger surged, their hearts racing at this perceived institutional betrayal, their fury directed against St. Hawthorne's integrity. The cadets' aggression intensified, their voices a sharp and bitter chorus. A diplomat's son, outfitted in a $3,000 North Face ensemble, leaned forward, his voice loud and critical. "She's a fraud, likely infiltrated to act as a war tourist," he stated, his unit concurring, their tactical watches displaying the time. "Her commands are seen as a joke, merely a tactic to fit in," another addition and loudly proclaimed. "She's considered a con artist, the camp has been deceived." Laughter erupted, each rumor feeling like a blow aimed at Ava's heart. Staff members shared falsehoods, their accusations spreading rapidly. "She's believed to be seeking an unearned benefit." Ava touched her backpack, her expression unwavering, but the public's defamation felt like a heavy burden. The audience's anger surged, their sympathies with Ava, their outrage a powerful force against this harmful falsehood, eager for the truth to expose the elite's deception. The cadets' harshness escalated as they spread damaging rumors, their words a sharp and bitter torrent throughout the barracks. A Pentagon intern, outfitted in a $6,000 tactical kit, moved forward, his voice prominent and direct. "She's a fake, likely paid to get into this camp," he stated, his team concurring, their cufflinks glinting. "Her appearance is a deception, a tactic to disrupt the trials." Another claim added, "She's a con artist. Nathaniel has been misled." The laughter was loud, each rumor a painful blow to Ava's heart. Instructors shared false statements, their accusations spreading rapidly. "She's seeking the recognition." Ava touched her backpack, her eyes unwavering, but the crowd's defamation felt like a heavy burden. The audience's anger surged, their sympathies with Ava, their resentment a powerful force against this harmful accusation, eager for the truth to expose the elite's falsehoods. The final evaluation approached, a jungle warfare simulation intended to challenge even the most resilient. Each team of 10 had to traverse a dense forest, construct a camp, safeguard their squad, and implement a counterattack strategy. The cadets moved quickly, their radios buzzing, their maps misinterpreted, their self-importance colliding. Disorder broke out, with arguments and lost signals, leaving a team stranded on high ground. Vanessa Pierce issued commands, her braids swinging, but her squad hesitated, their perimeter vulnerable. Ava moved forward, her sneakers silent on the mud, her wrinkled shirt a noticeable difference from the camp's tactical appearance. She seized the radio, reviewed the map, and assumed command. "Team 2, flank right at 15 degrees. Establish a perimeter," she stated, her voice calm but resolute. "Team 4, withdraw from the elevated position, transition to a staggered retreat." She addressed Vanessa. "As acting leader, relinquish command. I will assume full responsibility for the mission." The cadets paused, then complied, their actions precise under her instructions. The simulation concluded exceptionally quickly, the fastest operation ever recorded at St. Hawthorne's. There were no simulated injuries, and every squad was recovered. The forest became still, the audience's emotions moved, their frustration changing to eagerness, Ava's restrained power a glimmer in the cold. The training field reflected a scene of shocked expressions. The cadets' tactical gear appeared muted compared to Ava's simple shirt. A lead instructor, Colonel Raymond Holt, advanced, his beret shadowing his face, his eyes displaying surprise. At 55, a veteran of 3 wars, he indicated the command center screens. "That was the most precise operation I've witnessed in decades," he remarked, his voice wavering. "Who is she?" The cadets gathered within the debriefing tent, their custom knives catching the light. Where did she acquire that command style? Why was she dressed that way? Vanessa's braid appeared to droop, her self-assurance a diminishing trace. The committee chair, General Laura Tate, moved closer. Where did you acquire this expertise? Ava hesitated, her gray eyes unwavering. I served as a Special Forces major, she replied. I left after a failed mission resulted in the loss of someone dear to me. A hush fell over the camp, murmurs about her identity circulating. Ava Collins, the youngest female officer to command a tactical battalion, disappeared from official documentation following a puzzling resignation. A wave of pride and anticipation filled the onlookers as Ava's revelations altered the camp's existing power structure. A noticeable change occurred, signaled by a deep hum as a black UH-60 Blackhawk descended to the landing zone. Unexpected and without prior announcement, the cadets' faces lost color. The door slid open, and General Nathaniel Cross emerged, his four-star uniform gleaming, accompanied by 2 aides. At 42, raised in Colorado, he served as the Supreme Commander of Strategic Operations, a renowned figure in military circles. He proceeded directly to Ava, offering a precise salute. Major Collins, you haven't lost your edge, he stated, his voice steady. He then took her hand, kissed her forehead, and turned to address the camp. I am her husband, he stated, and he shared reports indicating she had been ridiculed, demeaned, and even subjected to physical mistreatment at what is presented as a prestigious training center. The barracks fell silent, camera drones suspended, instructors' expressions pale. The audience experienced a surge of emotion, their anger shifting to admiration as Nathaniel's words exposed the deception that had concealed Ava's experience. The camp remained motionless, Vanessa Pierce's tactical vest sliding from her shoulder, her braid offering no protection. Nathaniel confronted the camp director, his gray eyes unwavering. I insist on an immediate investigation, he stated. Everyone involved in mistreating her, including your daughter, will be suspended, lose student privileges, and be marked for a violation of military ethics. No one should advance by belittling others. The cadets' demeanor appeared to lessen, their faces drawn with surprise. Claravas remained still, her supervisory role an acknowledgement of failure. Nathaniel indicated Ava, his hand firm. She directed battalions in conflict areas. Your camp disappointed her, not the reverse. The crowd erupted in applause, their anger shifting to admiration as Ava's honesty started to redefine St. Hawthorne's history. Colonel Holt acknowledged, his beret pulled down in deference, the area holding still anticipating her reply. Ava advanced, her creased shirt a subtle symbol of authority, and clasped Nathaniel's hand. I did not arrive to guide, she stated, her voice gentle yet distinct. I came to observe. She hesitated, her gray eyes examining the cadets. When guidance was required, it was provided. The camp exploded with sound, instructors rising to their feet, their applause a magnificent display of admiration. Vanessa Pierce lowered her head, her vest offering no protection, and quietly apologized to Major Collins. Officials from the Pentagon came forward, presenting offers of a return to duty with unsteady hands. Ava smiled, gently squeezed Nathaniel's hand, and stated, I'm finished with conflicts. I simply came to observe the camp. The crowd erupted in cheers, their emotions heightened as her poise dismantled the established order's pride. The consequences were swift, a judgment conveyed without words. Vanessa Pierce faced an indefinite suspension, her father's position as chief of staff rendered powerless, and escorts escorted her toward the gate. Clara Voss was moved to desk duty, effectively ending her career as a gatekeeper. Ethan Holt, the cadet who had ridiculed Ava's backpack, was disqualified from final trials, extinguishing his ambitions. The Texion who had derided her sneakers was expelled, his family's connections proving ineffective. Those who had laughed faced disciplinary action, and their responsibilities lessened. The cadets who had circulated rumors concealed their timepieces, their power voided. Ava stood next to Nathaniel, her canvas sneakers planted firmly, her backpack a declaration of her honesty. The audience's hearts pounded, their outrage shifting to jubilation, Ava's when shining brightly and humbling the camp's prominent figures within St. Hawthorne's respected area. Nathaniel Cross held the training grounds with his authority, his voice cutting through the noise. You questioned Ava Collins, he stated, his gray eyes conveying restrained anger, the essence of this camp's heritage. Your equipment, your ranks are irrelevant against her reality. He displayed a tablet, showing a list of revoked permissions. Vanessa Pierce's training was suspended, Clara Voss lost event access, and the cadets were removed from trial eligibility, all decisions made by St. Hawthorne's board. Your identities are removed from military records, he announced, his gaze fixed on Vanessa. You have suffered more than just lost practice exercises. You have lost your integrity. The audience's intakes of breath were a chorus of surprise, their systems collapsing under his direction. Ava stood next to him, her creased shirt illuminated, her victory confirmed by Nathaniel's powerful outcry. The audience erupted, their spirits lifted as his worldwide punishment destroyed the privileged's presumption. The downfall of the elite was a spectacle, their arrogance shattered under Nathaniel's command. Vanessa Pierce stumbled off the training field, her tactical vest a mockery, her reputation a cautionary tale among the cadets. Clara Voss's gatekeeping empire plummeted, her scorn a public wound, her escorts pushing her toward the supply exit. Ethan Holt's aspirations collapsed, his mockery exposed as lies. The Pentagon intern who'd spread rumors hid his cufflinks, his eligibility void. Those who had shown scorn were let go, their careers concluded. The diplomat's son who had laughed was ostracized, his reputation diminished. Ava remained steadfast, her sneakers a subtle symbol of triumph, her gray eyes resolute. The camp's drones recorded the elite's downfall, their empires collapsing under Ava's direction. The audience's hearts pounded, their resentment shifting to admiration, Ava's success and Nathaniel's fury, consuming the military's wealthiest within St. Hawthorne's sacred grounds. Under Nathaniel's command, the camp's established order collapsed, revealing deep-seated flaws. He addressed the camp director, his words sharp and direct. Your training protocols are a sham, he stated, his gray eyes unwavering. Every rule that caused my wife distress is null and void, effective immediately. With a tap of his phone, a wave of notifications flooded the staff's devices. Contracts were terminated, access was denied, and entire squads were disqualified. Texan's connections were non-existent, his influence a memory of a bygone empire. The colonel's daughter's team was removed, her career halted. The instructor who had laughed was led away, her uniform somber. Ava stood next to Nathaniel, her backpack a silent declaration of her truth, her victory a shining light in the camp's fading glow. The audience's spirits rose, their anger changing into triumph, Nathaniel's fury a powerful surge that washed away St. Hawthorne's pride. The cadets' failings were confirmed as they confronted the drones, their confidence shattered by Nathaniel's orders. Sequentially, they approached the field's perimeter, their tactical gear lackluster, their voices unsteady. Ethan Holt turned towards the barracks, his Oakley sunglasses appearing insincere. I was mistaken to ridicule Major Collins, he stated, his apology a public admission of error, his previous challenges rendered meaningless. The diplomat's offspring followed, his North Face gear worn, his reputation diminished. I regret propagating falsehoods, he murmured, his impact gone. The colonel's daughter expressed her regret, her eligibility now non-existent. The staff who had previously mocked them stood in the rear, their uniforms removed, their careers concluded. Ava stood next to Nathaniel, her shirt a subtle declaration, her backpack representing her reality. The audience erupted, their spirits lifted as the apologies of the privileged resonated, their established structures collapsing under Ava's direction and Nathaniel's consistent strength. Ava's history remained unknown, not to the cadets, not to Vanessa, and not to the staff. At 20, she undertook training in muddy fields while studying tactics at night, her determination securing her a commission. By 24, she led a battalion in a classified operation, her bravery exceptional until a mission setback resulted in the loss of a friend's life, prompting her resignation. At 26, she encountered Nathaniel at a veterans event, her understated strength attracting him amidst a crowd of boastfulness. Their marriage, a private ceremony in a Virginia forest, was founded on love and shared experiences. Vanessa's lotion, the staff's uniforms, and the cadets' gear couldn't compare to the weight of the backpack Ava carried. Now she stood on the field, her ponytail a clear sign of her authenticity, her silence a powerful force that exposed their falsehoods. The camp fell still, but the cadets' eyes remained fixed on Ava. A junior instructor approached, his voice quiet with deference. "Major Collins, your orders," he said, his previous disdain now a mark of regret. The cadets withdrew, their impact diminished, their families working to repair relationships with St. Hawthorne. The Pentagon observed, their power wavering under Ava's dominance. She proceeded towards the command center, her gray eyes following Nathaniel's confident smile. The drones lessened their brightness, the spring light lessening, as a procession of the military's wealthiest sought her consideration, their gestures a quiet submission to the woman they had previously ridiculed. Ava chose not to resume her prior position, but agreed to serve as a guest instructor, delivering a single, exclusive class, achieving victory without fanfare. Her sneakers made a quiet sound on the lecture hall floor, and she carried a backpack over her shoulder, where she mentored a new generation to lead without ego. The camp implemented a new policy, requiring respect for all candidates, irrespective of their background. The field became quiet, the drones motionless, and the legacies of the elites settled like dust. Nathaniel moved closer to her, his gray eyes radiating warmth. "Ready to return home?" She nodded, her gray eyes following his smile. They walked away from the grounds as the spring light diminished, leaving St. Hawthorne irrevocably altered by a singular instruction. A uniform wasn't necessary for her to command attention. Someone who once led entire war zones rarely needs to raise their voice to inspire obedience. Like, share, and subscribe for more stories like this, and tell us in the comments, what would you do if you were Ava? The moment she entered the will reading, she was dismissed. A gray linen dress, a faded cardigan, and simple flats were all it took to elicit scorn from a room filled with meticulously styled appearances, their smiles seeming insincere. A man wearing a gold tie initiated the remarks, a mixture of laughter and mockery in his tone. "Is that the maid?" A young woman subtly inclined her head and murmured to her companion, probably a distressed former paramour seeking compensation. Ivy Clark remained near the rear of the room. She remained silent, showing no reaction, merely adjusting the strap of the cloth bag she held. In their eyes, she was merely a shadow, an outsider who had entered a space intended for blood, legacy, and status. However, they were mistaken. The woman they had just humiliated was the legal wife of the man they were all gathered to inherit from. And today's reading of the will was a test she had assisted in creating. The Thorne estate stretched across a wooded hill, its stone walls and iron gates forming a fortress against the world. Inside the grand hall, the scent of old money mingled with polished oak, leather, and the subtle fragrance of roses from vases that cost more than most people's rent. Crystal chandeliers hung like frozen waterfalls, capturing the April light and distributing it across a gathering of 42. Relatives, investors, advisors, and assistants, each one was dressed to assert their position in Logan Thorne's empire. Elegant suits, silk dresses, and diamonds that sparkled with each movement filled the room. Guests mingled, sipping champagne, their expressions of sympathy seemingly as practiced as their smiles. Ivy entered discreetly, her footsteps barely audible on the marble floor. She selected a spot in the back corner, close to a large window that showcased the hazy hills beyond. Her dress was understated, comfortably loose, the gray fabric worn soft with age. A pale blue cardigan, faded with time, slipped gently from one shoulder. Ivy's dark hair was styled in a low bun, with a few strands escaping to soften her features, high cheekbones, hazel eyes that seemed to observe everything, and lips that remained composed even when others might have retorted. At 36, Ivy possessed a quiet beauty that resonated, like a memorable melody. Preston Thorne, Logan's second cousin, rested against a mahogany table, his Rolex gleaming as he smirked. Indeed, how did the cleaning staff gain access? His voice resonated, intentional, prompting amusement from a group of cousins close by. Marissa, Preston's sister, wearing a crimson dress, flipped her hair and remarked, "Perhaps she's here to dust the will before it's read." More laughter followed, brittle and pointed, like shattering glass. Across the room, a younger woman, Clara, a niece with a tech startup and a TikTok following, subtly pushed her friend, Elise, a former assistant to Logan's CFO. Bet she's one of his charity cases, Clara whispered, loud enough for Ivy to hear. Or a mistress he forgot about, Clara continued, looking at her bag as if she were carrying her lunch. Elise chuckled quietly, taking a subtle photo with her phone. This is going on my story, she said. Clara's fingers quickly moved across her phone, a smile spreading as she wrote a caption for the photo she'd just taken of Ivy. Logan's charity case interrupted the will reading. Guess she thinks thrift store chic gets her $1 billion, she said, making sure Ivy heard. The people nearby chuckled, some reaching for their phones to approve and distribute the post, which was quickly becoming popular online. Numerous comments appeared, with strangers referring to Ivy as insignificant and needy, their words a digital attack that reflected the room's disapproval. Ivy remained still, her hazel eyes reflecting the light from Clara's screen. She remained silent. Her quietness appeared to encourage their enjoyment, as if her restraint was a test they needed to overcome. Elise, a friend of Clara's, moved closer, her voice laced with what sounded like sympathy. It was a sad situation. She didn't realize she had become a meme. The laughter increased, a wave of unkindness that reduced Ivy to something less than a person, her self-respect a focus for their mockery. Ivy's fingers briefly pressed into her cloth bag, a simple item carefully made, with no visible branding. She avoided looking at Clara or Elise, ignored Preston's taunt and Marissa's barb. She remained still, her breathing regular, her gaze fixed on the vacant chair at the front where the lawyer would sit. To them, her silence appeared as weakness, a sign of exclusion. They failed to perceive the strength beneath, the way her stillness commanded a room without effort. The crowd swelled as more people arrived. A previous investor, Gerald Hayes, wearing a pinstripe suit, commented to his wife, Logan always had people around. This one doesn't belong here. His wife, adorned with emeralds, concurred, her gaze assessing Ivy's attire. She lacks refinement, she stated, her voice barely audible. Her mere presence is mortifying to the family. A relative, Trevor in a velvet blazer, called out, Hey, dear, the kitchen is over there. He indicated a side entrance, smiling as his companions applauded him. A woman, Lillian, adorned with pearls and a descendant of ants, expressed her disapproval with a cluck of her tongue. She suggested someone should guide her out prior to the lawyer's arrival. She felt it was disrespectful to Logan's memory. Marissa, in a crimson dress that moved with each step, approached Ivy. Her heels made clicking sounds like a timer winding down. She halted close to Ivy, appearing taller, and her perfume was strong. You're in the wrong place, darling, she stated, her voice clear and audible to everyone present. She extended her arm, brushing Ivy's cardigan as if it were discarded, her nails lightly touching the material with clear disapproval. This isn't a soup kitchen. You should leave before you cause further embarrassment. The onlookers observed, a few smiling, others murmuring, but no one intervened. Ivy's hands remained firm on her bag, yet the intrusion into her personal space felt like an offense, Marissa's proximity a deliberate warning. A relative close by whispered, She's got some nerve staying, and the room's agreement regarding Marissa's actions was evident, their quietness sharing in Ivy's distress. Ivy remained still. Her gaze shifted quickly to the security camera in the corner, its red light blinking consistently. She was aware it was active, transmitting to a secure server only 2 individuals could view. One was her, the other wasn't present. Not yet. As Grayson began to read, Trevor quietly moved behind Ivy, the fabric of his velvet blazer softly contacting the wall as he murmured to his companions, Observe this. He retrieved a cocktail napkin from a table close by, wrote charity case with a Sharpie, and discreetly placed it in Ivy's bag while she was unaware. The room observed, quiet amusement rippling through the space as individuals indicated the note, its prominent letters marking Ivy. Clara took another photograph, struggling to contain her laughter, while Elise murmured, She's a walking joke now. Ivy remained oblivious, her attention on Grayson, but the crowd's excitement was palpable, their amusement a painful blow to her sense of self. Trevor relaxed against his chair, smiling, as Lillian commented, She deserves it for appearing like that. The prank was not only unkind, but also a performance, intended to make Ivy appear foolish for simply being present among them. The lawyer, Arthur Grayson, arrived promptly at 10 a.m. Dressed in a gray suit, his briefcase felt substantial with its contents. He appeared to be in his 60s, his face marked by years of managing wealth and conflicts. A stillness fell over the room as he placed his briefcase on the table, opened it, and retrieved a single, sealed envelope. There was no unnecessary display or introduction. He straightened his glasses and surveyed the attendees, his eyes briefly lingering on Ivy, a moment that disturbed Preston, who furrowed his brow and murmured to Marissa, "What was that?" Gerald Hayes stood, the fabric of his pinstripe suit straining as he gestured toward Ivy, his voice resonant like a judge announcing a ruling. "This woman is a fraud," he stated, his finger shaking with anger. "Logan would never permit someone like her close to his estate. She's here to deceive us. That's undeniable." The room filled with murmurs of concurrence, heads moving in agreement, gazes fixed on Ivy as if she were a criminal apprehended in the act. His wife, her emeralds sparkling, added, "She likely possesses a false identification within that worn handbag." The accusation lingered, casting Ivy as a criminal in their perception, her presence unwelcome and offensive. Ivy's gaze remained unwavering, yet the burden of their judgment felt immense, each word a painful blow meant to expose her. The crowd's whispers intensified, their anger a display for one another, Ivy's silence only intensifying their desire to condemn her. Grayson began, "We are gathered to read the last will and testament of Logan Alexander Thorne, which was executed 3 years ago and confirmed as genuine." A wave of whispers filled the room. 3 years. Logan had disappeared only 6 months prior, his private jet having been lost over the Pacific. There was no debris, no remains, just an absence that generated news and avarice. Many believed he was deceased, many hoped so. Preston adjusted his tie, his smirk reappearing. "Let's proceed, then. Who receives the inheritance?" Clara moved closer, her perfectly shaped nails clicking against her phone, already composing her celebratory message. Gerald folded his arms, voicing concerns about stock options. Lillian held her pearls, confiding in Trevor about the summer house in Nice. Ivy remained motionless, her bag now on the floor. She observed Grayson's hands as he opened the seal, the breaking of the wax echoing in the hushed room. They moved closer, their breaths light, their gazes intense. This was the moment. The instant they had prepared for, plotted for, traveled across continents for. Logan's empire, encompassing tech patents, real estate, and a biotech firm valued at $90 billion, was potentially available, or so it appeared. Grayson opened the document, his voice calm yet measured, every word like a stone placed in quiet water. "I, Logan Alexander Thorne, being of sound mind, issue this as my final will. To my family, colleagues, and associates, I bequeath only this statement. Wealth exposes character, it does not define worth." The room fell silent. Preston's smile wavered. Clara's phone moved slightly in her grasp. Gerald's jaw clenched, his wife's emerald seeming surprisingly weighty. "Surely this couldn't be accurate," Grayson stated, appearing calm. "All my assets, company shares, properties, accounts, and intellectual rights, are bequeathed to one person. The individual who stood by me for no reason other than love. The person who never inquired about my net worth, never sought my name for status. My wife, Ivy." A sharp, jagged gasp filled the room as heads turned, searching for the person behind the announcement. Preston let out a short, disbelieving laugh. "Wife, Logan wasn't married." Marissa's hand covered her mouth, her red fingernails contrasting with her whitening skin. Clara's eyes narrowed, looking towards Elise, who silently questioned, "What the hell?" Gerald pushed back his chair, the sound scratching against the floor. "This is absurd. Logan never spoke of a wife. It must be a deception. Someone has fabricated this." Lillian gripped Trevor's arm, her voice high-pitched. "She's not here, right?" she asked, referring to a possible gold digger they hadn't met, someone attempting to take what belonged to them. Grayson raised a hand, calming them. "The will is valid, it was signed and notarized. We have supporting documents, including a marriage certificate, photographs, and personal letters, all available for verification." He retrieved a folder from his briefcase and opened it, displaying a photograph. It was Logan. He appeared younger, laughing, with his arm around Ivy, who was wearing a simple white dress. 7 years prior, a courthouse stood silent. Suddenly, the atmosphere shattered. Preston struck the table forcefully, declaring, "This is insanity." "Who is she?" Clara rose, her phone unnoticed, demanding, "Where's this Ivy? Show her." Trevor responded with a scornful expression, suggesting, "Probably some con artist hiding in Belize." Marissa's voice, sharp with anger, pierced the noise, asking, "If she's real, why is she not here? Too ashamed to show her face?" Ivy advanced. The action was subtle, measured, resembling the shifting of a tide. She moved across the room, her footsteps silent, yet every gaze followed her. Her cardigan shifted gently, and her linen dress shimmered in the light. She paused near Grayson, maintaining a poised stance and a tranquil expression. A simple cloth bag rested on her shoulder, reflecting her understated nature. The quiet was profound. Grayson began to speak, then stopped, his gold tie appearing overly bright. Clara's cheeks reddened, a previous image seeming to glow from her phone. Gerald retreated into his chair, his wife's emeralds appearing less vibrant now. Lillian's pearls appeared to constrict her. Her hand paused in the middle of a movement. Grayson gestured toward Ivy, a subtle acknowledgement in his gaze. "Mrs. Thorne," he stated, delivering the folder to her. She accepted it without a visible reaction, her fingers firm as she opened it, observing the photograph, her lips curving slightly, as if recalling the occasion it captured. Then she shut the folder and turned to address the assembled group. "I did not come for the funds," she declared, her voice distinct and calm, reminiscent of a chime through mist. "I came to understand your character. Who amongst you treated Logan like a person, rather than a financial asset? Who would grieve him, not his wealth?" She stopped, her hazel eyes moving across the assembly, observing each individual with ease. "You have revealed yourselves for who you are." Preston spoke, his voice trembling but resolute. "Are you suggesting you are his spouse? You?" He indicated her dress, her cardigan, his laughter strained. "Logan Thorne married to this? No intention to be rude, madam, but your attire suggests you purchase clothing from second-hand shops." Ivy did not flinch. "I do," she stated plainly. "Logan didn't mind. He appreciated me for who I am, disregarding my clothes or possessions. Can any of you claim the same?" Clara scoffed, crossing her arms. "That's a convincing performance, but I'm skeptical. If you are his wife, what evidence do you have? A photograph isn't sufficient. Anyone can create a false image." Sounds of concurrence spread through the room, encouraging those present. Gerald affirmed, his voice prominent again. "She's correct. We require further validation. Witnesses, official papers, something tangible." Grayson reopened his briefcase, retrieving a bundle of documents. A marriage license, dated 7 years ago, was signed by both parties and 2 witnesses, a nurse named Sarah Ellis and a librarian, Michael Reed. There were personal letters from Logan to Ivy, handwritten, and verified through forensic analysis. Bank records demonstrated joint accounts maintained privately at Logan's request. He paused, retrieving a small USB drive. The drive contained video footage from their wedding. He inserted the drive into a laptop on the table, and a screen on the wall flickered to life. A hush fell over the room as a blurred video appeared on the screen. Courthouse steps, Logan in a plain suit, Ivy in a white dress, both of them smiling as they shared a kiss. Sarah and Michael stood close, applauding. The timestamp aligned with the marriage certificate. The resistance in the room dissipated, faces losing color, eyes shifting to Ivy, who observed the footage with a subdued pain in her expression. Marissa rose to her feet, her voice shaking with anger. "This is a fabrication. You orchestrated this, correct? Intending to, what, make us appear unfavorable. You're insignificant. Logan would never choose someone like you." Her words caused pain, yet Ivy's expression remained unchanged. She allowed Marissa's anger to linger without a reply. Then she spoke, her voice now icier, with a precision that could wound. "You are correct about one aspect. This was orchestrated, not to deceive you, but to evaluate you, to determine if any of you were concerned enough to inquire about my identity before you ridiculed me, to see if you would respect Logan's legacy or simply grasp for his fortune. She advanced towards the assembled group, her aura dominating the space. You have failed. Every single one of you. Trevor chuckled, now visibly anxious. Test? Is this some kind of game show? Surely you can't be serious. But his voice faltered as Ivy's gaze locked onto his, unwavering and resolute. She retrieved a small remote from her bag. Logan is not dead, she stated, choosing her words with precision. He is alive, and he has been observing you throughout this entire period. She activated the remote, and a monitor on the wall sprang to life. Within a room, shadowed and quiet, Logan Thorne was seated. Aged 42, possessing a lean build and dark hair touched with gray, his blue eyes remained keen. He reclined in a chair, his demeanor composed yet firm, reminiscent of a judge assessing individuals. A camera feed displayed a live connection with a timestamp visible. It read April 15, 2025, 10:32 a.m. Suddenly, the room erupted with gasps, shouts, and expressions of disbelief. Preston recoiled, his tie disarranged. Clara's phone slipped from her hand, the screen fracturing against the marble. Gerald's wife held his arm tightly, murmuring, "No, it's not possible." Lillian's pearls broke, pearls rolling across the floor. Logan's voice emerged from the monitor, deep and strong. "You believed I was gone. You thought this was your opportunity to divide up my life as if it were a cake. But I've been present, observing, hearing every word, each scornful expression, every deception." His eyes moved, seeming to look past the camera towards Ivy. "She cautioned me you would reveal your true nature." She was correct. Ivy's lips flickered, almost a smile, as she addressed the assembled group, her voice calm. Logan's aircraft incident was staged, a maneuver to assess allegiance and identify betrayals. You arrived promptly, adorned in your finest attire, eager to assert claims you did not possess. However, this was not about finances, it concerned uncovering the truth. The doors of the grand hall swung open, and Logan entered. He was genuine, substantial, his presence impactful. His suit was understated, without a tie, his shoes showing signs of his journey. A path opened as he moved through the room, the murmurs fading, the confidence disappearing. He paused near Ivy, his hand lightly touching hers, providing a sense of stability. She raised her gaze to him, her expression relaxing for the first time, and he inclined his head, a wordless understanding. He turned to address the room, his tone compassionate and natural. Ivy orchestrated this, the will, the reading, the cameras, everything. She wanted to understand your character when you believed you were unobserved, who would treat an unknown with respect, whose actions would be kind, whose concern would extend to me, irrespective of my financial status. He hesitated, his gaze traveling across the assembly, fixing upon each individual. None of you earned his favor. Logan's eyes settled on Preston, the man who had initially derided Ivy, his gold tie now appearing ostentatious and restrictive. You insulted my wife, Logan stated, his voice subdued yet intensely threatening, each word penetrating the room's astonished quiet. You chuckled as she remained standing, isolated, allowing you to reveal your character. Did you believe I wouldn't notice? Preston recoiled, his earlier confidence vanished, his fingers awkwardly adjusting his tie as if it offered protection. The onlookers observed, motionless, as Logan approached, his stature imposing even in his plain suit. You are not family, Preston, you are a parasite, and I will no longer sustain you. A guard materialized beside Preston, his hold steady, and as Preston departed, his objections were lost in the reverberation of Logan's statements. The room felt lighter, justice a tangible force, Ivy's honor restored with each step of Preston's disgrace. Preston attempted to speak, his voice hoarse. Logan, please, we didn't know. She didn't say anything. Logan's gaze snapped to him, cold and final. She shouldn't have had to. You saw a woman you didn't recognize, and your first reaction was to tear her down. That's not family, that's not loyalty. Clara stepped forward, desperate now. We're sorry, okay? We didn't mean it. Ask her, Logan, ask her to forgive us. Her eyes moved to Ivy, as if begging, but Ivy's expression was unyielding. Her silence felt more condemning than any words. Logan refused to agree. It's not a matter of forgiveness. It's about accountability. He gestured towards Grayson, who produced another document. This is a supplemental clause to the will, taking effect now. Anyone who addressed Ivy disrespectfully today, identified in security camera recordings, audio recordings, or through testimony, will be disinherited. No shares, no properties, no communication. The matter is concluded. Preston began reading names, his voice sharp and authoritative.
Preston Thorne, Marissa Thorne, Clara Evans, Gerald Hayes, Lilian Ward, Trevor Lang.
Each name was announced with force, causing faces to fall, protests to erupt, then subside as security personnel intervened. Preston shouted, "You can't do this. I'm blood." But a guard gently took his arm, guiding him toward the exits. Marissa followed, her crimson dress flowing, her sobs audible. Clara held her damaged phone, quietly murmuring, "This can't be happening." As she was being escorted out, Clara's face lost its color as Logan turned to her, his gaze piercing her like glass. "You turned my wife into a meme," he stated, his voice even but intense, believing your followers would applaud you. "But falsehoods don't endure," he continued. He gestured toward Grayson, who activated his laptop, and Clara's phone vibrated intensely in her hand. Her social media accounts, her empire of influence, were collapsing publicly, posts deleted, followers decreasing by thousands, sponsors severing ties with remarkable efficiency. "You're banned from my companies, my properties, my life," Logan stated as a guard took her arm, her damaged phone falling to the floor. The crowd's gasps were a chorus of awe, the room charged with the excitement of justice. Ivy stood beside Logan, her silence holding weight as Clara's digital influence weakened, her past mistreatment of Ivy now contributing to her downfall. Gerald's wife attempted to protest, her jewels sparkling, but Logan interrupted her. "You insulted my wife, and you are no longer welcome here." They departed, their heads lowered, as onlookers dispersed and guards emptied the room. Lillian's scattered pearls made a brittle sound beneath the footsteps, a suitable conclusion to her arrogance. As the doors shut, just a few remained, 3 individuals who had remained quiet, who hadn't laughed or sneered. Sarah Ellis, the nurse from the wedding video, now older, her eyes filled with relief. Michael Reed, the librarian, who had nodded to Ivy upon her entry, acknowledging her discreetly. And Anna, a groundskeeper who had offered Ivy water prior to the reading, without hesitation. Logan turned to them, his voice gentler now. "You observed her, you didn't judge, that's what family signifies." He looked at Ivy, his hand finding hers again. "You were right about all of it." Ivy's gaze lingered on the empty chairs, the spilled champagne, the broken pearls. "I didn't want to be right," she said, her voice quiet but firm. "I wanted them to be better." She faced the 3 who remained, her eyes warm now. "Thank you for seeing me." Logan squeezed her hand, his voice low for her alone. "You are more than they'll ever understand." A slight, genuine smile touched her lips as she moved closer, the fabric of her cardigan lightly against his sleeve. The room was still, the vultures having departed, the truth revealed. Ivy did not require the money, the estate, or the empire. She had never desired them. What she had wanted was Logan, living, complete, belonging to her. And now, with the world reduced to its essence, they remained together, resolute. The hills beyond shone green beneath the April sky, and the cameras ceased blinking, their purpose fulfilled. If this story resonated with you, please show your appreciation with a like, share it with someone who might benefit from hearing it, and subscribe for more stories that explore difficult subjects with hope. Your support helps ensure these stories continue to be told.